How's it going, everybody? It's Pilot Flame, and we are back. Just making sure all my settings are correct. We are back with another FPL stream here. It is Game Week 9 time, and as you'll probably notice, if you're on YouTube or you're here on the live stream, I'm a little bit brighter now. I got my stands finally done and set up, so we can look a little bit brighter, and then we'll have a bunch of other things to set up for the green screen. I haven't developed those as of yet, but I have previewed some of them before with like Wembley and stuff behind me, but I'll make sure to have those up in the coming weeks. We also have emotes in the chat now as well. We have the 3 emotes, the regular tier 1, the tier 2, and the tier 3. I've just posted them in the chat. The first one is a pilot approved, so it's basically my little avatar with a thumbs up, and then the tier 2 and tier 3 is basically him with like a smirking looking grin in the chat. So if you want to support the channel, which is not required at all, but if you do and you subscribe to the channel, then you do get access to at least the first emote. And the more subscribers we have, the more emotes we can have out in the future. And I have a bunch of different ideas how I want to do some of those. I already have plans to make basically like a wildcard emote, a free hit emote, you know, all these sorts of things that are related to chips and FPL and that sort of stuff. So but yeah, so lights are done, emotes are done. What else? Game week 9 was kind of mediocre. We'll see how my team kind of got on in just a second. We're doing the stream a little bit later, so if you're catching this over on YouTube, we did it over on Twitch starting an hour and a half later than normal, so 8:30 p.m. EST, just to kind of see how things kind of set up, and yeah, hopefully everything goes okay. I see there's a little bit of drop frame, so hopefully that ceases to continue, and overall the stream stays healthy. But yeah, where would we be without technical difficulties? They always seem to happen at some point. But yeah, so we're gonna go over through all the normal stuff. We're gonna see how my team did. We're gonna see how the predictions did for the previous week, as well as we're also going to check out how my team's potentially lining up for Game Week 9. And we're going to see if I need to make any transfers, because I have a couple of flags in my team that are a little bit on the worrying side. And yeah, we might have to address those sooner rather than we would have liked. So without further ado, let's get into the preview. So we have the team up on the screen here. 59 points with a 4-point hit. That takes us down to 55. Overall, our backline did quite well. Captain blanked-ish. I mean, did get a, a clean sheet point for himself. I'm just gonna repost all of the emotes just so people on YouTube can see what they look like. You can head on over here to Twitch to see them. They should be up now. I just have default names for them, so I have test 2 and test 3, just because I want to change the prefix so you don't have to type out pilot F2. I want to change it to something a little bit shorter, so it's a little bit more manageable, maybe like a couple letters, so just PF and then whatever the emote's name is or something like that. So but yeah, let's take a look at the team. So our front line did decently well. So Calvert-Lewin got himself 5 points. Bamford got himself 7. Kane got himself 9. Unfortunately, we didn't captain Kane. We would have ended up with probably a very small green arrow. We went down a couple 100,000 places. Not the end of the world. It was definitely kind of a halfway decent game week to steady the ship, in a sense. Obviously, captaining Son over like the likes of Salah or Kane kind of hurt us a little bit, but not the end of the world. The main problems was if you had or if you didn't have the likes of Grealish. If you did have Podence like me, Everton against United, I didn't expect them to concede 3 and James to just be not in the game at all. That was kind of a bit, I expected it as from a United fan's perspective to win the game, and I expected them when they need a performance to go out there and do it. But I would expect a little bit more from Everton. I thought, when Everton scored their first goal with brilliant chest down from Calvert-Lewin, who put in Bernard for him to get his shot off, which ended up finding the bottom corner. I thought that it could be, could be a bit of a sticky situation for United. But United turned it around. Bruno Fernandes, if you had him, credit to you, did quite well. And if you check my wildcard video, which was posted on Saturday, you will see that he's in one of the teams in like my favorite wildcard team at the moment, which is like the talisman team, or basically I have pretty much all the penalty takers / players that are mostly involved in all the teams. So that it's got players like Fernandes, Kevin De Bruyne, Salah, Kane, or I'm not sure if it has Kane, but these Grealish, these sorts of players that are always involved and take penalties for the team. Vardy, I think, was maybe instead of Kane, but yeah, overall our front line did quite good. Son, obviously better than getting 4 points, is getting 6 points, so not the end of the world, but that is our second blank out of 8 game weeks, so we've been quite fortunate, 75% on that. Salah doing the business again. Podence getting hooked off at the glorious 59th minute. You love to see that. James only getting us 2 points. Ayling getting thrashed again. Created a couple chances, but ultimately nothing going there. Did start it off, quite decently with Brighton, getting a clean sheet with Lamptey. McCarthy also getting a clean sheet as well. Pretty good there. And then Chilwell getting a goal at the back post, which was quite good. Could have had a monster hole if they had kept a clean sheet. But can't be begging for too much now. His ownership is getting higher and higher as we speak. But yeah, curious to see. Son's ownership is kind of starting to decline a little bit. Kane's is kind of leveling out. Salah's ownership is probably going to go down slightly because people are still waiting and seeing on whether he's going to be fit. But yeah, I'm just glad that all my players played, basically. Obviously it would have been better to have the Kilman in to get the extra 1 point, but I played Ayling over Kilman, and that's kind of how it ended up. But overall, 59 points, slight rank decrease. Not the end of the world. Not the end of the world. So we'll take it. Obviously, we want to get that. If I had Captain Salah or Captain Kane, that's a 6 point swing. That gives us a slight little green arrow, but at the end of the day, it's not the end of the world. Moving on to the fixtures for the Game Week 9. Actually, no, let's take a look at Game Week 8 first. Game Week 8. So we'll bring across my predictions. We always do the predictions every game week. If you don't know how the predictions go, basically if you get the correct scoreline, so if I had predicted Brighton versus Burnley to be a 0-0, I get 3 points. If I predict the correct result, so in this case I predicted 1-1 and it ended up being 0-0, not the correct scoreline but still a correct result in a draw, I get 1 point. But if I had predicted a draw or a win and Brighton had lost, then I had predicted anything that wasn't a loss for Brighton, then I would get 0 points. So in the case of Arsenal 3-1 over Aston Villa, I predicted a win for Arsenal, and Aston Villa won 3-0 the opposite way, so I would get 0 points for that. That's just a hypothetical scenario, or a case scenario in this case. So Brighton versus Burnley, 1-1 I predicted, it ended up being 0-0, so we got a point for that. Same with the Southampton versus Newcastle game, predicted 2-1, it ended up being 2-0, so 1 point there. Everton, I predicted against United, and United ended up, delivering the goods. I actually said on that stream, the preview stream for Game Week 8, that there was definitely a possibility that was, United would pull up basically a victory out the bag. And I was wrong in predicting against my own team, but I have to go with the head and not necessarily with what the heart says sometimes. Now we have Crystal Palace versus Leeds. Didn't see this coming. Crystal Palace won 4-1. I predicted a 3-0 Leeds win. Definitely not very good there. Chelsea won by the same margin I predicted. I predicted 3-0 over Sheffield United. They won 4-1, so only 1 point there. West Ham 3-0 over Fulham, ended up being 1-0, so again 1 point. Same with Spurs over West Brom. I predicted 3-0, ended up being 1-0, so a lot more low scoring than what I had initially anticipated. Leicester versus Wolves, I predicted a draw, then it being a win for Leicester, getting a 1-0 victory, so no points there. Liverpool did not edge a 2-1 win over Man City, and it being 1-1. It actually could have been 2-1 the other way for Man City. De Bruyne scored the penalty, nothing there. And then also Arsenal 3-1. Actually ended up going the other way, 3-0 for Aston Villa. And in terms of the differentials, definitely no clean sheet for Leeds, so not very good there. A clean sheet for Fabianski, though, however, versus Fulham. So pretty good there. Bellerin didn't do anything. Madison, I'm not sure if he got the assist. No, it was Dennis Pratt who ended up getting the assist on the Vardy goal. So nothing there. And Aubameyang did not score. So overall, not great. What did we get last week? I believe we got 6 right last week, whereas this week we only got 5. So we steadied the ship a little bit. So at the start of the season, we got 5 points, then 7, then 7, then 5. Game week 5, we dipped down to only 2, and then 5, 6, 5. So overall, pretty consistent. Ideally, I want to basically get... I want to get a situation where basically I get at least 5 of the scores right, so at least 50% or higher, and then see if I can get 1 exact score right. So that would be nice. See if I can do that. Moving on to the surprises of the week. So this big surprise obviously was Crystal Palace beating Leicester by that margin. I mean, they had a free kick, was a brilliant free kick. They had a bunch of different, goals which were, pretty unexpected. I mean, Jordan Ives was a bit scrappy in a sense. Dan's goal from a corner, again, a set piece goal. An own goal by Costa that was so unfortunate. It's just one of those things that, can happen from time to time. And overall, I think that just a bit unlucky, really. For Leeds in that regard. They they like to attack. Palace ended up doing a little bit more offensively than what they've been showing, and overall just a bit unlucky for Leeds. But we know that they are culpable at the back, so a bit unfortunate there. Brighton versus Burnley, I knew it was going to be a draw. Just didn't expect no goals in it. I'm still confused as to how Brighton haven't scored, really. Southampton still look okay. I mean, they did play Newcastle even without Danny Ings. United coming back, getting the win that they needed versus Everton, which potentially buys Solskjaer more time, with the rumors that Pochettino was, on Sky Sports and that sort of stuff. West Ham and Spurs, 2 teams that I probably would have expected to do a bit more with what they had versus Fulham and West Brom. Only getting 1 goal, and it took, it was Kane's goal very late on in the Spurs game, and same as Souček's goal, which you could argue was potentially offside, depending on how you view the flight of the ball coming in towards him after Haller was basically involved in the play, because basically Haller goes to jump for the ball, which causes the defender, you would think, to basically make a quick clearance, and it doesn't actually get a hold of it quite well. Drops the Souček and he puts it in the back of the net. So normally they would have chalked that off. VAR had a look at it and they said it was fine based on how high the ball was coming in to Haller. So would have had to potentially that's just one of those tough calls there, to be perfectly honest. It's just one of those ones where, me personally, does he make the defender have to think about him jumping? Yes, so then I think it should be offside, no matter how high the ball is. If he goes to jump for it, whether he's never getting to it or not, I think you have to make the decision based on that. City versus Liverpool, again, City getting the penalty, which De Bruyne ended up missing. Joe Gomez was hard done, personally, mainly due to the fact that how are you supposed to be able to, run and not use your arms, right? It's just getting a bit ridiculous, like some of them. And then in the Leicester Wolves game, it was even closer. It was from maybe 2 yards for the handball. That one's even more difficult to even side with giving a penalty, in my opinion. At least the Joe Gomez one, you can say, okay, maybe they think he's far enough away that he can pull his hand back. But both of them are a bit on the tougher side overall. Bit of a bit of a bad day at the office for VAR in those two instances, in my opinion. And then also in the Crystal Palace Leeds game, I always forgot since the game week's been so long. Patrick Bamford has a goal ruled offside because he is pointing to where he wants the ball for Click to play it into, or whoever ended up assisting him. I believe it was Click. And he gets called offside because his patch on his arm is offside. Like, that just makes... Like, they need to basically... Whatever the body part that they end up scoring with or getting the advantage with. So if it's his left boot, his right boot, his head, when the ball's played to him, measured off that point that he ends up scoring with. Because he's never scoring with his bicep. Like, it just makes no sense to me, perfectly honest. As a Patrick Bamford owner, I was a bit disappointed to see that chalked off. And he also made a funny gesture to the linesman afterwards, saying like, oh, you're going to call me offside for the goal that he did end up scoring, which was well taken as well. Both goals were well taken, and I think they were both goals. Aston Villa versus Arsenal. Aston Villa could have had potentially a fourth, but again, the line of sight rule coming into effect, I believe it was Ross Barkley, who is in line with when the shot was taken. However, I don't think you could have stuck 5 goalkeepers in that goal to stop that shot from going in. So, but again, the rule is the rule, and we have to continue on with it. Moving on to the clean sheet and differential picks for this week. We have the clean sheet and differentials here already. Well, actually, let's go through. Let's do a little bit of change up. So my clean sheet for this week is going to be Manchester United. I think that they should have no problems keeping a clean sheet versus West Brom. Coming off a break, coming off a good win versus Everton, you should be able to keep a clean sheet versus West Brom, in my opinion. If Spurs can do it, then United's defense can do it because they're both just as bad as one another. And yeah, they should be able to keep a clean sheet. Meslier, I'm going to go with my goalkeeper for this week. Arsenal don't create very many chances. So I think he should be okay. Yes, Arsenal can hit teams on the break, but again, we're not very inspiring versus Aston Villa, who were very attacking in their own right. Reece James for Chelsea. I think a lot of people are going on the Chilwell bandwagon, like myself, but I think that he is very good at his own delivery as well. He's also going to be on free kicks, and I think that he's someone who, at a cheaper price, could provide just as much, if not more, value than Ben Chilwell, but is a potential rotation risk overall. James Rodriguez, a lot of people have been getting rid of him, after the, injury concern, and then playing United, not doing too well. But they do have 3 very good fixtures, so I put him on the list because if all it takes for him is get a goal assist, 2 to 3 bonus points, and then he'll be right back up there overall. And then lastly, Anthony Martial, someone who we've forgotten about, and he was suspended for 3 games, so he is now back and right in time to potentially be a captaincy shout for the West Brom game. United at home need to fix their home fixture. Obviously coming off, like I said, a good win versus Everton. West Brom, not really in the best of places right now. And overall, just kind of don't really have much going forward and are very susceptible at the back as well. So those are the clean sheet and differential picks. Now, for the score lines, Newcastle versus Chelsea. I think Newcastle going forward, unless Callum Wilson does something brilliant, or it gets good delivery into him to where he can do something with it, I don't see them scoring, and I think Chelsea can easily put 3 past them, so I expect the Chelsea comfortable victory. Villa versus Brighton. I expect both teams to concede, maybe. Actually, Brighton probably won't score, I don't think, this one. I think it's going to be a little bit more comfortable a fixture. I'm going to go with a 2-0 Aston Villa win. I just think that Brighton gets so many good chances to potentially score, and they just aren't, clinical with them. So I see Aston Villa with Emi Martinez in goal being a bit more of a a defensive stopper in goal and just kind of dictating things from the back, and Aston Villa coming off a good win of their own as well. Spurs versus City, this can go a bunch of different ways. I think that Jose Mourinho will do what Jose Mourinho does. He'll have his team sit back even though they're at home, and he'll try to basically hit City on the break. Liverpool didn't do that. Liverpool went and attacked them, and it was basically just back forward, back forward. And it's probably going to be also the team or the tactics talk video for the on the Sunday, which if you haven't seen the first edition, we did Manchester City versus Liverpool, so make sure to go check that out. That should be right in the channel. It was posted yesterday at the time of streaming live here on Twitch, as well as putting it up on YouTube. This would have been on the Sunday, so the 15th. So yeah, should be interesting. Mourinho's going to sit back, going to play a low block, and he's going to see if he can hit with Son and Bale or Son and Moore, these sorts of players on the break, and using the brilliance of Harry Kane. I think they can nick a goal because City are definitely susceptible to conceding penalties or something of that sort. And I'm actually going to go with a 1-1 actually here. I think it's going to play out similarly to how the City-Liverpool game kind of went, except for the fact that Spurs aren't going to give City as much space, and I don't think that, you know, there's going to be a situation where, you know, one of those handballs is probably going to happen again, because that was kind of in a transitional play. Jose's team's going to sit back. They're going to be a bit more defensive, unless, like, you know, you have Sergio Aurier literally put his hand out like he's trying to, you know, tell somebody to halt, or if, you know, Eric Dyer has another episode where he's falling backwards and the ball hits his hand and then they call that, then I don't see anything else going that way. United versus West Brom, I think 2-0 is probably the scoreline. Maybe see Martial and Rashford on the score sheet, maybe a couple Bruno assists, something like that. Maybe United can score a bit more. They should be doing so at home, and I think they need to turn their home form around. I think this is the game to definitely do so. And also, if you had United assets going into the Everton game, I would definitely say obviously keep them for this game and probably the next game as well. Fulham versus Everton. The title of the video in the stream, obviously, here is that Everton have lost 3 in a row. So they're going to look to definitely get that back. I think they'll still probably concede somehow, but I think Everton will win it comfortably 3-1 with Richarlison now back in the team after he served his 3-game suspension as well. Sheffield United versus West Ham. I think that Sheffield United are still struggling to score goals. They are at home. West Ham, I'm not sure if they're going to have Antonio back. We need to wait for the team news for that later on in the week. But if they do have Antonio back, I can see them definitely winning. They're not as good defensively as what they were. I'm going to go with a 2-0 win for West Ham. Leeds versus Arsenal. I think Arsenal are very susceptible at the back, more so than people think that they are, even though they just basically play defensive counter-attacking football, and I think Leeds can definitely score. I can see Leeds potentially winning this game. I think Arsenal won't concede a crazy amount because Aston Villa create better chances than Leeds do. Leeds just create more in volume, and I think Leeds will actually end up winning this one. They may concede one on the break to the likes of Aubameyang or something like that, but Meslier is very good at shot stopping, so that may end up being a 2-0 scoreline. But I think he'll rack up potentially a few more saves. And if you do have him, he's probably going to, if he does concede, he'll probably get like a 3 or 4 pointer potentially. Because Arsenal's chances will be shots on goal because they'll be on the break, if they get any. And if not, he'll just keep a clean sheet. So I still think Meslier will get above the standard 2 or 1 points. I don't think they'll concede more than 1, if anything. Liverpool versus Leicester. Now, this is a bit of a tough one to call because Andy Robertson could potentially be out. Trent's out for 4 weeks. Van Dijk's out long term. Gomez is now out long term. You're looking at Matip and a youngster potentially to play in the back line. And then you also have the fact that Salah could be out for the game after testing positive, so that's another concern. Then you also have the fact that Henderson could be out as well. He came off with some muscle tightness in the England versus Belgium game as well. So again, could be a bit of a tricky one there. Could be a bit of a tricky one. Leicester have been doing quite well with their injury crisis, as it were. Playing the likes of Fofana in a back 3. James Justin kind of going all over the place and picking up different positions. And overall, the back line, doing quite well. Johnny Evans is, come back. Soyuncu has been in and out. Defensively, they haven't been, quite there in terms of what their players would be on paper, but they've seemed to be quite solid overall. Madison's now back, so that provides the type of invention that they would like in the midfield. And then obviously Vardy's still doing what Vardy does, which is score penalties, and when he gets a chance, he scores it. So overall, quite good. So I think it's going to be a close game. I think this could be a draw. And I think that Liverpool, depending on who's out there. So if Salah, tests negative on his Thursday test, I believe it is, so a few days from now, then he's eligible to play in this game, because I don't think he's suffering any symptoms or anything like that. So if he's fine for the game, then Liverpool should be okay going forward. But Leicester have been quite good defensively. I'm going to sit on the fence on this one. I think it's just going to be a 1-1, very similar to how the Spurs Man City game will play. Liverpool will have the possession, Leicester will sit back, and it'll kind of function in that way. Burnley versus Crystal Palace. I'm going to go no. It's Burnley versus Crystal Palace. I know Crystal Palace just scored 4 versus Leeds, but Burnley definitely ain't attacking as much as Leeds are, so I think a no is quite fine in that regard. Wolves versus Southampton. I think this is a time where Southampton need to utilize their press the way they've been doing, and they can get a result out of this game. If they don't, then Wolves will be able to sit back, and then in the last 15 minutes they'll be able to get in a situation where they can get the likes of Jimenez, Adama Traore, these sorts of players involved in the game and end up nicking a result. But I think Southampton will remain resilient, and I think they'll actually keep a clean sheet in this one, especially if Podence keeps getting taken off before 60 minutes after being their most successful attacking player in terms of what he looks like out on the pitch. And I think Southampton will end up winning this game 1-0. So those are the predictions for the game week. I will post those over on Twitter, so make sure to follow us over there. But the key games to kind of look out for this week is, can Villa continue their scoring run versus a Brighton team that isn't very good? Chelsea should do the business versus Newcastle. Spurs versus City. Is there going to be an edge there? Can United do what they haven't been doing all season, which is beating the teams they should be beating? Can Everton bounce back from their 3 losses? Can Sheffield United score, let alone even get a result from a game? Leeds, are they good enough, to put chances away versus an Arsenal team is going to just defend? Liverpool, how are their injuries going to affect their team against the Leicester team who's top of the table? Burnley versus Crystal Palace. Perfect game, fitting for a Monday. And Wolves versus Southampton should be an interesting affair with two teams that have very unique playing styles, and with Southampton being up there at the top of the table. They were even first at one point. Even without Danny Ings, they should still pose a decent threat to the Wolverhampton Wanderers at home. So, with that said in mind, this is how the team looks on paper. So, we have McCarthy in goal versus that Wolves team, but we also have Kilman against him with Podence in there as well. So, hopefully, that is, if McCarthy is going to concede, we need it to be Podence. So, an ideal, maximum amount of points that I would get would basically be Podence getting some type of bonus points at goal. Maybe McCarthy gets a couple of like a save point or so, and Kilman keeps clean sheet. Something along those lines would be ideal. Probably not going to happen though. Knowing my luck, Podence will come off at 59 minutes again, which won't be great. Yeah, it's not ideal. Ben Chilwell does have a yellow flag. Came off with a bit of a, I believe it was back issue of some kind. He's on the yellow flag for now. We'll have to wait for team news on that front. Ayling, he's going to play versus Arsenal no matter what. The two Everton boys, one of which I have captained. I have Calvert-Lewin captain at the moment versus Fulham. Potentially could be, getting back to a monster hole there. We'll have to wait and see. James Rodriguez, we're keeping him, and Calvert-Lewin almost certainly through these 3 good fixtures unless something happens. Fulham away, Fulham are very good defensively, neither Leeds, and Burnley haven't been their defensive best in recent times either. Salah is flagged and has a 25% chance of playing, but again, if he does come back with a negative test result on Thursday, or at least a day or two before the games, then he is able to travel and then will be fine for the Leicester game and will almost certainly play, because presumably he is he's still training and trying to keep himself fit, basically, in the event that he shakes it off and is back and involved. The two Spurs players in there with Kane and Son, still not sure what to do with them at the moment. I'm not sure if I'm going to keep them in this game week and then go into next game week with 2 free transfers. I think I'm going to have to wait for the press conferences to see what goes on with Salah, because that could potentially be a transfer, even though I might not want to. I might have to end up playing Lamptey versus Villa instead of Salah, which will feel really bad benching a 12.4 million player on the bench, and overall that wouldn't be ideal. But yeah, it's just one of those ones there where sometimes you have to put players in that you don't necessarily want to. I don't rely on Burke getting me points. Mitchell is still flagged and has an unknown return date. When that will be, we don't know. And then Kane has the vice captaincy as well. So we know that Kane's going to play versus City, assuming he's fit. And we would prefer Calvert-Lewin to be our captain, because we think that versus Fulham, that could be one of the better fixtures. And if we actually take a look just back at the fixtures real quick, I think that if you have Timo Werner or a Chelsea asset, could be quite good. Even Jack Grealish could be an interesting captaincy shout. A United asset almost certainly should be good. An Everton asset could be good. Even Jamie Vardy versus Liverpool could be good as well. Bamford has an outside shot as well versus Arsenal. Although he does do his damage at home, but could potentially be good there as well. But yeah, that's kind of how the team lines up at the moment. In terms of what we're looking to do overall, basically, if Salah's just going to be out for just this week, which he probably is, we might just bench him and just play Lamptey versus Aston Villa and just hope for the best. And then we'd have to go into game week 10 and look to get the Spurs players out, because City at home isn't ideal, but it is probably better than most fixtures, because City aren't as good defensively and are susceptible on the counter, and we've seen that their fullbacks are susceptible to taking people down, which Son and Bale can cause problems for them. But Chelsea at home, Arsenal away, Crystal Palace away, Liverpool away, Leicester at home, Wolves away, all extremely tough fixtures, and then we can wildcard them right back in Game Week 16 when they go to play a bunch of the bad teams again, or the more ideal fixtures. So if any transfer is going to be done this week, it's potentially, and this is only if I'm worried if Salah could be out for more than one game week or something like that, I would take Salah out and bring in Mane, basically, and then just bring him back once, when I see fit, basically. But we do have a little bit of value tied up in Salah, so it is a bit of a bummer. We could just do a stopgap, because if we take out Burke, who isn't playing, we could just bring in Souček or somebody slight like that, so which would basically just allow us to have a starting player. And Souček's fixture is quite good. He plays Sheffield United, so we could just play these 4 in midfield, these 3 up front, and then we could play Ayling, Chilwell, Kilman, because again, we still don't know if Chilwell is going to be fully fit. And then if we were to do that, then we can go to look at potential replacements here. So we could bring in De Bruyne or Sterling as our City mid. And then our forward could be Jamie Vardy, because from Game Week 10 onwards, we're looking at him potentially against Fulham, Sheffield United, Brighton, Everton. Could all be very good fixtures to do damage against. Also, potentially Jesus is another one that could be in there. Podence, we are thinking about getting rid of as well. So again, there are situations where we can potentially work around that. But if we don't do Souček, then probably what we're going to be looking to do is keep Salah and then basically get rid of Prince, bring in Vardy. Let's just say Sterling hypothetically, and then we have 9.6 million to work with. So technically, we could keep Son for the time being and just go two players. So Vardy in and Prince out for Sterling in and Kane out, and then just keep Son for a couple more fixtures, because he's going to be the one that's going to be counter-attacking, as it were. That is definitely a possibility that we could do, because it's not like he's going to be bad versus Chelsea, running at Chelsea's defense necessarily. It's not like he's going to be bad versus Arsenal. It's a London derby, anything's possible. It's not like he's going to be bad versus a Crystal Palace defense. He's human Son, and he's a pretty good player. But he could also be somebody else. Potentially, he could be a Marcus Rashford, who's 0.2 more. He could be someone of a cheaper option. Midfield, if we just look at just the players that are up the top, Grealish is there at 7.5. If we get an extra million, we can go Bruno Fernandes. There's a bunch of different players that we could potentially go here as well. Even James Maddison is another one. Ross Barkley, who we've mentioned in our videos that was over the international break, could potentially be something there as well. So ideally, would like to get rid of him because his fixtures aren't great, but overall have to kind of see how it plays out. But for the time being, I think that we're going to be keeping hold of what we have at the moment, and just hoping that Salah can play, hoping that Chilwell is fine, and then we can just go into game week 10 with 2 free transfers and able to get rid of the 2 Spurs players with limited damage, as it were. So another thing is that since Salah, he tested positive, and they've seen that he's had or currently has, if not has already come over the virus, that's still yet to be determined. He's going to be a player that's basically going to be immune to that, or at least should be for at least a few months. I'm not sure how long the immune system maintains basically superiority over the virus, but we'll have to see on that front. But players who have already had it, so Salah and Mane having already had it, yes, they were out of their respective positions for the games that Liverpool played, but that means the likelihood of them getting it is very, very slim now, which means further and further down the line, if players from different teams get it. So let's say hypothetically, one of the key Spurs players, one of the key City players, come crunch time, that could be a bit of an issue. So we will have to see how that kind of pans itself out going forward. But I just think that the international friendlies could be done away with. If it's for the the Nations League, okay, that's an actual tournament. Sure, you can do the games for that. But otherwise than that, do they really need to do friendlies? Probably not. But yeah, I digress on that front. But yeah, hopefully our team can do well. I'm expecting the Everton boys to do something this week. Calvert-Lewin is still highly owned. That's why captaining him is quite good. So if he does go crazy, then we can get something out of him. James Rodriguez is going to be a bit more of a differential. I think that people are going to be selling him, looking at United assets if they have a little bit extra in the bank. And hopefully we can get, one more week out of Podence that isn't a one-pointer. I think since we've had him since game week 3, I want to say. Because he started off, pretty good. 0 points because he didn't play. 3 points, 3 points, 3 points, which isn't, terrible. It's better than 2, which a lot of midfielders have been getting for me, or defenders. And then he scored. Kept himself a clean sheet, not bad. And then obviously the 1-pointer was very disappointing. But again, hopefully we can get something something on that front. Mitchell, again, a little bit worrying that he's not got a return date. Again, we'll be looking for team moves for that. Burke, still don't know what to do with him. He's just hasn't come off the bench at all in the last 3 out of 4 games, so not really sure what to do there. Lamptey is somebody that I would not like to play versus Villa or Liverpool, and I probably would play him versus Southampton, but we'll have to see. But I definitely don't want him coming off the bench and Aston Villa go absolutely crazy, because that's just going to be a double-edged double-edged sword. No, that's not the analogy. It would basically be a double blow, as it were. So not only will my defender be getting thrashed, but also the people that have the likes of Grealish and Watkins and those sorts of players that I'm keeping myself an eye on will be getting points, and I won't be. So speaking of the Villa assets, so if I were to go, because I've been looking at Ollie Watkins because I like the prospect of him overall, we could get rid of Son and Prudence, and I believe we can bring in 2 City mids. So we can go De Bruyne. Actually, we could get rid of Burke if we did this. If we went from Kane and Son and Burke, we could go De Bruyne and Sterling as well, with Watkins up front. And basically, Prudence would be our Souček, our bench option, as it were. And it would bolster out our team quite nicely, and then we could basically do, we could take that extra $1 million and put it into Mitchell, or basically extra $500,000, put it into Mitchell. So there are a bunch of different things that we can do. Prudence could also be Jota as well, who I believe is still at 6.5 at the current moment. Not the Aston Villa Jota, the Liverpool one, who was formerly of Wolves. That would be an interesting tandem. I believe Salah just went down in price because he was 2.2 a few seconds. Yeah, he did just go down in price. So actually, I'm going to bring up see if I can bring up the price changes just now. So Schlupp, Twanzebe, Salah, and Fleck have gone down, and I don't think anyone else is going up. Yep, so that's just the same. Everything else is as per normal. But again, Salah plays, or if people find out that Salah's starting, he'll just play and then off we go. Yes, we lost 0.1 on him, but he'll probably go back up if he comes in after the break week, which Brighton away looks like a much better fixture than Leicester at home, because of the way Leicester's been playing and the way Brighton's been playing. Plus, I definitely want to have Salah pretty much up until, probably for just the whole season, honestly. Just play Salah and just captain him in the good fixtures. That's pretty much how it's going to go. But, yeah, so this could easily be a -8 that we do here, but it depends on price changes and that sort of stuff. Again, Champions League is going to probably, halt our breaks a bit. We may lose a bit of value, so it may be something to where we have to leave Prudence in there for another week and address him later on. And again, like I said, a player who has basically had COVID or has been around somebody who may have immunity to the virus. So I know Souček was somebody who I don't think he tested positive, but he was around somebody who had it. So maybe he only potentially was exposed to it briefly, so he didn't actually get a positive result, but still has antibodies which can, deal with it. I'm not too sure on that one. But it is possible, right? Or maybe he's taking extra precautions because he has, in the past, come across somebody who has had the virus. So, but yeah, these players are going to be like immune-proof, as it were, because basically, if you don't know where the immunity system works, or your immune system, not immunity, your body builds up these basically antibodies, these protection barriers, these protection beings, as it were, that basically anytime they see anything that says, oh, that's COVID there, we know how to deal with that already. We've already know how to beat that, and that's basically what your body does. It basically builds up a protection system against specific threats if it's seen it recently. how long that protection system lasts, we don't know as of yet. So, and I'm not a scientist, so I'm gonna try to figure out how long it actually is gonna last. So, but usually it's a few months that it will protect you against it for sure. And by then it could be fans back in stadiums with the promising news of a vaccine on the horizon, or whatever the news is. So we will have to see. But yeah, for now, this is what the team is looking like at the moment. So we'll just run through it one more time. So we have McCarthy in goal versus Wolves away. We have Chilwell, Newcastle away, who is flagged at the moment. We're going to have to monitor him for the team news. Kilman at home to Southampton for Wolves. Ayling for Leeds against Arsenal at home. James Rodriguez, Fulham away. Podence, Southampton at home. Salah, who is currently flagged, 25% chance of playing as he tested positive versus Leicester at home. Hopefully he is fine on his test, like they said on Thursday, which means he could then travel and then meet up with the team and then still be able to play. I believe they play on Sunday. Yes, they do. Then we have Heung-min Son versus Manchester City at home, who was apparently also near somebody who potentially tested positive or something like that. So again, that could be a bit of a sticky situation. Calvert-Lewin, we currently have captain versus Fulham away. Bamford also versus Arsenal at home, along with Ayling for Leeds. And then Kane, vice captain versus Man City, with our bench being Steer, our non-playing goalkeeper. Burke, Lamptey, and Mitchell. Lamptey also being flagged as we do not know his return date. So basically, the thing I want to get out of the press conference is hopefully is that Chilwell's fine and that Salah has traveled and can play after having a negative test result. That's what I hope to play, because I don't want him to have to make any transfers, and I don't really want to play Lamptey, because if there's like a situation where it's like, oh yeah, Chilwell should be fine, he should play, and then it's like, oh well, actually no, then I have to rely on Mitchell playing or Burke or you know, somebody like that, and not very hopeful of that. So we will have to see on that front overall, but hopefully it should be a good game week. I also forgot to mention, I forgot to post the little bulletin that we do on Sundays. I will post it once I finish the stream here tonight, and along with my predictions, and you guys will see the normal content. So it's going to be the captaincy video on tomorrow, so Tuesday. Then it's going to be buy, hold, sell on Wednesday, pep roulette on Thursday, lineup announcement on Friday, and then finally the deadline streams are back to normal for one game week, unfortunately, because they changed it up again. Because game week 10, they have a Friday game. Lovely. So I can't do the deadline stream an hour before the deadline is supposed to happen, because I'm not home in time for that. They haven't issued the game week 11, but we will have a deadline stream for the Newcastle Chelsea game before the deadline, which is 7 a.m. my time is the deadline, which means I'll be up 6 a.m. my time, which is 5 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So make sure to check out that. So let's go over to the big screen here. But yeah, so hopefully the camera is a little bit brighter. You can see my unshaven, bearded, lockdown face in full effect. So let me know what you guys think of the lighting itself. We will be doing other green screen effects soon. I just gotta get them you know, tested and stuff with the new lighting setup, and we'll see how that kind of runs. And also, yep, just if you haven't done so already, you can come over on Twitch and check out the new emotes. I'm just going to post them one more time in the chat for those that are watching. We have 3 emotes, one for tier 2, one for tier 3, and one for the base tier 1. So yeah, should be fun stuff. Again, not required, but it is definitely appreciated. Links are in the description on Twitch, as well as over on YouTube, to check out all of our socials, which you should do so. Pilot Flame 226 on those platforms. I will be posting up this VOD over onto YouTube as soon as I finish the stream here. And I believe that is everything. So yeah, make sure to check out all of our videos that are going to be going up. What I might do, if I remember to do so, I might put a captaincy poll up on later on this week to see who you guys are going to be captaining. Because it is a bit of an interesting one this week, with Salah potentially being out. City and Spurs, who've been the somewhat contested captaincy options, are going to be playing each other, and we'll put some ones up there to see who people are going to be looking at. So that's going to go over on YouTube as a post. So make sure to turn those notification bells on over there so you can get that and see that when it goes up. I believe the notification bell should show you any posts or anything like that I made. But yeah. Thanks for watching, and until the next one, take care.